have a knee real quick, guys.
If you can land 2 top 15 running backs on your team, you've done well.
Welcome to Pound the Rock.
In Atlanta, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, they're both 2 number 1 wide receivers. Chris Carson, I like too. And I like Will Fuller. Will Fuller's the number 1 guy in Houston. Say what you want about Brandon Cooks. Fuller's been there.
And here's your host.
When I'm seeing Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady get picked, and before them, somebody decides to draft Teddy Bridgewater.
A man's so quick, he's even fast asleep.
The commish himself.
Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan established on the Falcons, for they've all been playing together. These are the players you should be worrying about instead of drafting rookies right away.
The steel-handed stingray.
Kyler Murray, another quarterback. I know it's his second year, but in that offense, that's a gunslinger offense. They do no huddle. They're shooting off plays every 25 to 30 seconds.
David Balletta.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to Pound the Rock. I am your host, the commish, David Balletta, and this is a wonderful recap we had after a wonderful week 1, all except for my beloved Broncos. Literally gave Tennessee back a game that Tennessee had witches handed them. And with all due respect, I do believe Vic Fangio with a game like that might be standing on thin ice. But regardless, what a week 1 it was. There was plenty of exciting things. And one thing I took apart from is I do believe we're going to need at least 1 or 2 preseason games because there was missed tackles. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran all over Houston. And there was very, very large statistical games and a lot of fantasy interesting facts, news, and notes. Of course, you heard in the opening, I loved both Atlanta wide receivers. They both went off. I really liked the fact that tight ends were quite an extravaganza, and I said it right in my last week's podcast. You can get 15 to 20 tight ends that'll perform for you, and literally 15 to 20 tight ends in a point per catch league all got over 10 points, if not even more. A lot of things to look back at. Who would have predicted Dallas Goedert would have finished first overall? I think Noah Fant might have eclipsed him, but George Kittle, Herndon, Higbee, Kyle Rudolph, all under 10 points, and 15, 20 guys over 10 points. It was just insane. People taking tight ends in the first couple of rounds of the draft. Quarterbacks were really, really, really. Some were just. You can tell some quarterbacks who had been with teams for a while were really on point. Like I said last week, that's the kind of guys you want. I said Rodgers and Adams. I said Ryan and his 2 wide receivers. They were on point. They were unstoppable. Couple injuries of note. I'm not sure if anybody really had a lot of shares in Blake Jarwin. I'm not sure if he's done for the year. Not really sure if anybody had a lot of shares in Cortland Sutton. He missed a game. Was really interesting to see the fact that Tom Brady had a great fantasy game, but a rather poor football game, throwing 3 interceptions. Of course, one was returned for a pick 6. Oh, Philadelphia and Washington, good Lord. That was an interesting one. I mean, there were times when Carson Wentz's offensive linemen were just sitting there watching him. Just sitting there watching him get sacked. I don't know what the story was with there, but my goodness, Washington's front 7 were just people eaters. Just people eaters. We'll be getting joined by our friend Glenn coming up real soon. We had a great time last week doing this show for you guys, and we're going to have a great time doing it for you now. Okay, everybody, welcome. And we'll get back to the show in a little bit, but now we're just going to take a break, okay? We will see you on the flip side. Thank you for joining us here on Pound the Rock. I am the commish, Dave Balletta. This week's Pound the Rock is brought to you by Larry Palletta Remax. Visit Larry Palletta at larrypalletta.com, where you can compare listings in the Hamilton-Burlington area, see Larry in the local communities on his YouTube page. For all this and more, please visit Larry at larrypalletta.com at Larry Palletta Remax.
not picking on anyone here. It's not to be picky, but you stressed yourself. That was one of the first things, the most important things that you stressed, is that preparation for the draft, right?
Period. Have something. Like, the thing is what's going to win you your draft isn't the players get, it's when you get them. Don't pick with your heart. You got to pick with your head.
Don't know what kind of heart or head that person's picking with.
Good day, everybody, and welcome back to Pound the Rock. I am your host, David Flood, and I appreciate you joining me today. We turn to the guest lines, where, as always, beside me each and every day is my good friend Glenn. Welcome, Glenn. Welcome to Pound the Rock.
Hey, thanks, David. Thanks for having me on, Pound the Rock. How are you doing?
Good. Well, I'd be better if Vic Fangio didn't give Tennessee Christmas gifts after Denver and Tennessee were exchanging Christmas gifts all day yesterday.
Oh,
missed field goals.
Little issue with Vic and his clock management, are you?
Oh, not just the clock management. Well, exactly the clock management, but the no timeout at the end of the game was key, and the fact that they had the ball 3 minutes 55 seconds left in the game, and you throw it twice, and both passes are incomplete. But I took a lot out of the game. I really enjoyed what I saw to Drew Lock, and nothing for nothing, but I am really still high on Jerry Jeudy, even though he had 2 drop passes. But let me tell you, Glenn, they had no answer for him off the line. They had no answer for Jeudy in terms of coverage. He was making them look. He was just making them look, like a man amongst
pedestrian.
Boys. Exactly, pedestrian. How are you doing? How'd you do for your week one?
Week one did okay. Most of my teams did pretty good. My fantasy teams did well. My picks did well. Teams that I cheer for did well. The Steelers showed up. Ben debuted again last night. I was a little nervous when I first saw him in the first quarter.
Well, we called that.
Wasn't sure. Yeah, but then he settled down. It seems that things seemed to start clicking. His timing later with his receivers. I was most concerned with his arm.
Ben looked good.
He did. It's just you want to make sure he gets through the whole 16 games, and then wait and see if you're in the playoffs.
No, absolutely. Listen, yesterday was a good start. Was. I've got no qualms about any of the performance on the Steelers. I was actually quite surprised how good Juju did, but they were playing the Giants. And you and I both said Steelers by 10, and they won by 10. Anyway, in saying that, I noticed that there was a little bit sloppiness in the NFL over Week 1, and I'm going to elude on this point that we do need a preseason, not 4 games. We may not need 4 games. We need at least 2 at most. But there was just teams missed tackles, like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire run alone in the Texan game. It was as if did you ever play Madden? You remember when you were the monster team and players would just bounce off it? Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like the monster team, and he's 5'7".
Yeah. I guess they made him look really good. I mean, the rookie had a great debut with.
He had a good debut, but listen, his true colors came out on the goal line when he had 6 attempts and he got nothing.
Yeah. That's where I guess you may need to spell him a bit at that point. But in other situations, he's in a great spot. Fantasy-wise, potentially.
You're exactly right, and nothing for nothing. But when we were calling picks, the picks last week. New England was favored 10. We both, New England was favored 7. We both took Miami in a sense where we said, you know what, this is going to be a 3 or 4 point game. And technically, I'm still saying we're right because Ryan Tannehill has the ball on the 12-yard line and he throws an interception. Okay?
Yeah.
At the end of the game. They score there, whether it's a field goal, it's a 4-point game. They got a touchdown, it's a 3-point game. That is ridiculous.
Yes.
He threw it into double coverage to Gesicki. That's Ryan Tannehill. He just makes bad decisions at the worst time.
Yeah. Well, that's how we ended up where he is today.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but yeah, that's kind of what led to where he's at now. However, he's got a chance to still make up for that. There's 50 more games to go.
There was
something different.
A few other things I took note of, and it's something I predicted. I've never been an advocate of buying high on a tight end for fantasy, and we had over 15 tight ends this week score over 10 points. And tight ends that didn't score over 10 points were George Kittle, Chris Herndon, Tyler Higbee, and Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
So
not the barn burners, not the barn stormers, but I mean, yeah, there were a lot of tight ends who scored exceptionally well on fantasy, like you said this week.
Absolutely. Dallas Goedert, Noah Fant. You know, it's like I alluded to in the last podcast. Don't take a high pick on a tight end. I did the smart thing. I took two in double digit rounds. Jared Cook and Noah Fant. I stacked it. I picked up T.J. Hawkinson. Actually, I played you in this league. I picked him up off the waivers and started him.
Yeah, I've got Dallas Goedert on my bench in pretty well every fantasy team that I have.
Well,
you know, he was my back end sleeper pick for tight end because I need if Ertz gets hurt, Goddard's going to have amazing production.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Ertz slowed right down. I think they're going to be handing over the keys to Ertz rather shortly. Anyway, you know what? You know what I thought was a huge stat over this week, and whether it's got to do with preseason, but it's got to do with sloppy football. Do you know how many field goals were missed in Week 1, Glenn?
You mean just in the Tennessee game, or
no? As the whole NFL as a whole, how many field goals were missed in Week 1?
I think. Well, my recollection is at some point I'm thinking to myself, they seem to be missing a lot of field goals today.
Yeah.
Or kickers are probably a lot more important than we realize now.
Glenn,
because they seem to be kickers are switching teams like crazy. You know,
18 field goals were missed in Week 1 alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
18 field goals. How do you do that? And I'm not saying they were all from 65 yards. That was it?
Gostkowski?
Gostkowski, don't get me started. He's it was almost as if he was a Bronco fan in that game. And
maybe he's got a binder shirt in his yard.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And number one, number two, that kicker from Cincinnati at the end of the game. Oh my goodness.
Oh, pulling his
He said he pulled his left leg, but he was grabbing his right leg at the end of the game. Regardless, it was just sloppy. Like I noticed that, you know, a lot of missed tackles. The one thing I will say was that there was the same amount of sacks this year, almost exactly to the number this year as there was last year. But like we alluded to in the last week's podcast, the gunslingers, the teams that are conditioned with each other, the Aaron Rodgers, the Devontae Adams, the Russell Wilsons, me and you both hit on the Atlanta quarterback and those two wide receivers. We didn't even mention Gage.
No.
You know, all three receivers, 9 catches.
Yeah. Gage really surprised me to see his production when I took a look at his numbers afterwards. And you're the one who kept pointing out Atlanta's passing game.
Yeah.
And, you know, caught me by surprise that they were this prolific across the board.
Oh, listen. You know? I mean, if history repeats itself, number one wide receivers always tend to hand down the number one job to the second talent over a couple year span. And Julio Jones is going to hand it to Ridley. I'm not saying Julio is done this year, but, you know, Roddy White handed it to Julio.
Yeah.
Anquan Bolden handed it to Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And you've seen Roy Williams handed it to Calvin. You know, and it goes on. And then Roy Williams handed it to Dez. You know?
Yeah. Interestingly enough,
it's just the way it turns. Now, one thing we did last week, and we'll get into it a little bit later, was we both picked the Eagles to wipe out the Washington Redskins, and
we were right for the first half.
We were right for the first half, and we both picked the Colts to steamroll over the Jaguars. Now, What I ended up doing was I looked at the spreads. One was 7.5, the other one was 9. I took the dogs in both games, fully saying, you know what? It's week 1, no off season. There's no way they're going to win by this amount of points. And not only did they not win by that amount of points, Washington beat Philly by 10.
Yeah.
The Jaguars beat the Colts by 7.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers threw the ball 20 times in the first half.
Yep.
Just don't understand.
Got the gunslinger play. I mean, they didn't bring him in to hand the ball off.
One thing I'm going to repeat now, and I did in the last podcast, is I'm still got Kyler Murray for league MVP this year.
Really? Okay.
Well, did he flash? Did he flash in the Niner game? No, but he still ran for 100 yards and threw for 200.
Still pretty impressive.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Yep. DeAndre Hopkins had 15 catches. That's more than he's ever had in a single game in his whole career. and again, the reason why I like Kyler is this, and I'll allude to it again, the way that offense is run. No huddle, plays every 25 seconds, pow, pow, pow. And they went into San Francisco, and they made San Francisco eat a heck of a lot of crow.
Yeah.
Granted, San Fran had no wide receiver. I didn't have but the wide receiver passing game wasn't healthy, and Kittle did get hurt, but that's not an excuse. You don't lose to the Cardinals at home. Anyway, Glenn, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll go over our review of Week 1 in the NFL. Pound the Rock. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Give me the Chiefs easily. I would even take double points on the Chiefs.
Really?
Yeah, I would say I would go as high as say 14 on that. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds like a lot at the start of the year.
Hello, everybody. Good day, and welcome back to Pound the Rock. I am your host, David Blood, and I am joined here, as always, by the illegitimate twin brother of Lou Rawls, Glenn. Why don't we, Glenn, let's do a breakdown of last week's games. Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll start with the Chiefs and the Texans. Now, one thing I got to say is, again, I wasn't high and mighty on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I think it was more the Texans making him look great than, don't get me wrong, he's a good runner. But the sloppy tackling didn't exactly make him have to out dodge Mike Singletary and Brian Urlacher out there. And his true colors came in the goal line when he couldn't even pump it in on 6 tries. In fact, I think he went backwards.
Yeah. I can't really say anything about that because I didn't see that play. Checking it out here.
Well, he had 6 opportunities to punch in, and he didn't. And one thing he did is, I remember there was one big sack on Mahomes that Helaire missed his block, didn't even look the right way. It was a play action. He was supposed to chip the end, and he missed it, and that end went and just got a big sack on Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not gonna get you a lot of playing time if that keeps happening. So hopefully, talented as he is, he's still gonna block.
Other than that,
that's just something you learn over time.
Players were dropping passes. Like Will Fuller dropped the first one for a good 20 yards. Granted, like I said, he still came back with eight catches for, I think, 128 yards. And I liked Will Fuller. I liked Will Fuller a lot. But my God, that one Kansas City wide receiver, Robinson, the end zone passes bounced right off his numbers. Unacceptable.
Yeah, I think you won't be hearing too much from him the rest of the year, I don't think.
No.
I know. There's too much talent going around in Kansas City for that to happen.
Casey had to go to O-line, I noticed. And one thing is that Texans defense was lousy. They were gassed. They were not conditioned. And Helaire just ran up and down the field on them.
Well, you did say, it is basically like preseason for these guys, so they still get conditioned.
Well, that's exactly my point. My point being is right off the bat, I believe they need a preseason. Maybe not 2 games. Maybe definitely not 4 games. Maybe 2, maybe 1. But a lot of people kept on. I heard on the radio, "Oh, this is just proof you don't need a preseason." Who the heck is making that call? Like, honestly, there was no.
See the injuries. Look at the kickers. Like you pointed out, a lot of misses, right?
The kickers, number one. And when did you see a punt return or a kick return ever be anything worth talking about this week. It wasn't, because there was fair catches galore, minimal returns. That's what happens when you don't have a preseason. You can't worry about. Sorry, you don't have no time to deal with special teams. You have no time dealing with the third or fourth guys on the depth chart that run your special teams, and the 18 kicks missed.
Yeah,
like, give me a break.
The guys need time to practice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everything
for sure.
is practice.
I think 2 games is reasonable.
Absolutely,
one game might not be enough.
Exactly.
Because, you look at we'll know more after this week. We'll still see guys gassed on the field.
Yeah.
As you say.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by week 3, we should start seeing a little bit more evening out, right? Much as you do in preseason, you start to get your guys ready for the first game. And it's around that time, things are starting to look like where they should. Guys are used to the hitting more. And the speed of the game, too.
Oh, exactly. I noticed it right away in the Chiefs-Texans game, and you called it. Chiefs were favored 9. You said, no, Chiefs by double-digit points. You even said Chiefs by 14, and that's what they won by.
Yeah, I felt good. I felt good about saying that.
Well, you should.
we just look at it, but these things are going to happen. These games are going to be there, and if you're going to jump over, also, and I just got a second to say, it could have also gone the other way on us, because if you're ever going to jump on a team and catch them by surprise, the first week of the season is probably the time to do it.
Oh, sure.
Washington,
Well, let's go to that game, and let's just take the next 2 games. Let's just take the Band-Aid off and get it over with.
Okay.
Philadelphia and Washington. I mean, Philly right away, they just marched up and down that field. Washington just did not show anything.
No.
What woke Washington up was Wentz's first interception. After that, Washington woke right up. Philly's offensive line was bad. I mean, there was just times when the line was just turning around and 4 guys were sacking Wentz. Like, Wentz got sacked 8 times. This guy's not going to make it through the season.
No. 8 times and 2 interceptions. He had the worst week you could think of for a quarterback,
Now, I'm not taking anything away from Washington's front 7. Like, that's just deadly. Like, that rookie kid, second overall, he was again a man amongst boys.
Yeah.
And again, in saying that,
Chase Young,
excuse me. I always keep forgetting his name. It's so simple too. Now, one thing I noticed about Wentz went for the long ball quite a few times. Again, he was off quite a few times. He hit 1, but that's what preseason does. It gets your timing against real opponents as opposed to your own.
Yeah.
So that's my take from Philly. I'm not worried about Philly right now, pending their offensive line. That's what bothers me. But I think Philly, once Sanders comes back, it'll definitely be a boost. But Washington's a team to watch.
Yeah. Washington is a team that we didn't really know much about beforehand. All we know is Riverboat Ron, as they call him. He's got something planned there.
You know what's scary? You know what's scary, Glenn? Is that the Redskins are number 1 in the NFC East right now.
Yeah.
They have the only win in the whole division. But that shouldn't surprise you, because the Cowboys are America's hype. The Giants are the second hype, and Philadelphia, well, they're just Philadelphia.
Yeah, we saw what happened there.
Yeah.
But Washington, I think. Sorry, Dave. Want to say add something for Washington. With their defensive performance, the fact that they came down, shut Philly down the second half. Right, 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, and then they scored. They still managed to generate 27 points on their offense.
Mm-hmm. Off 2 picks, mind you.
Yeah, I mean, opportunity. That's. I'm impressed by that. Surprised, really, and I don't know what to expect from them. Perriman, who is their running back there, the guy who just
Antonio Gibson.
No. The guy who actually led them in carries yesterday.
Barber.
Gibson,
Peyton Barber.
Peyton Barber. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Peyton Barber. I mean, 16 touches, 16 carries.
Not sure, but he put 2 red zone touchdowns in.
Yeah. Boy, that's a sneaky catch on. I didn't know Barber was even on the roster.
No, yeah, no, exactly.
You know?
I'm not sure where the heck Peyton Barber went.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he was hiding.
Barber,
Anyway,
yeah,
listen.
he came out of nowhere, and I don't know. Is he one of those fantasy pickups you look at?
I can't see why not if you have a deep stash.
Yeah,
If
you take
you're a
some
Marlon
stash.
Mack owner like me, you definitely drop Mack and give a try to Barber.
Yeah, because now we're looking at what about Neiman Hines?
Oh, well, we'll get to Naheem Hines anyway. So
Okay,
the
okay,
Philly
sorry.
Washington game was definitely that. We both took Philly, but again, I ended up changing my pick because the spread. But I didn't think in a million years they were going to win, which leads me into the Indianapolis and Jacksonville game. I mean,
Yeah.
that was at first Rivers crisp, clean passes were there, and he wasn't going deep. He was always throwing the short stuff. And then what happened, Glenn? Next, Gardner Minshew incompletes one pass, misses one completion, and he throws 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Minshew caught fire.
Minshew was just Minshew was it was crazy how that guy just took control of that game.
Oh, sorry. I thought last year he kind of came onto the scene the same way.
Oh, he did, but today was upper echelon.
Yeah. Hey, you think he'll maintain that level of play and consistency?
Well, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard Indy's
Indy
pretty good, so that's what I'm kind of wondering. Like, okay, well, is this a flash in the pan, or is this like, there's more to come?
I think he'll maintain it. To be honest with you, I think definitely he'll maintain it because he's not a bad quarterback. He's an efficient quarterback. He's not a deep thrower, but he can run a little bit. He manages games. He reminds me a lot like Alex Smith.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, in that game, Jacksonville goes 27-20 over Indy. Nothing for nothing. I don't know what that says about Indy going forward.
Yeah.
That's a tricky
well, I
one.
guess we'll see how they have to respond to this, right? Houston's not exactly looking to challenge.
But again, that's week 1, no preseason. We'll see what happens in 3 or 4 weeks. Seattle at Atlanta. That was a very entertaining game to watch.
Yeah, I liked that game.
Oh, it was 38-25 Atlanta Seahawks over the Falcons, and it was not even that close.
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise, we nailed Atlanta's quarterback and the 2 wide receivers. We knew Russell was going to have a good game. I didn't know Russell was going to have that kind of a good game, Glenn. Are you a little bit surprised that they dipped into the passing game and not the run game?
I was going to say something. I think that Seattle has a passing game, first of all, which totally surprised me because usually you would think that traditionally you've gone, thinking about Seattle's offense, but more about, attacking the run. They're more of a balanced run game type of team. But this was impressive. Russell went out there and threw multiple passes to multiple receivers. Greg Olsen showed up for some 4 catches, 4 targets, 39 yards, 1 touchdown. So he might be a touchdown vulture. Another one of those tight ends you speak of.
Yeah,
Just gonna sneak in there, get some more points on you.
Those deep guys,
Yeah, and what I was thinking about was when I was watching the game was Jamal Adams. If you see the effect that he has
on the goal line
on that defense, and that elevated play of the defense is going to create opportunities for that offense all of a sudden now. So
you're absolutely right. I didn't even take that into consideration. I remember saying Jamal Adams was all over that field.
Yeah, he was amazing watching him play like that, and it wasn't just him. It started becoming infectious. It started to remind me a bit of the Legion of Boom type of. I guess excitement that they seemed to play with, the level of play that they were playing with. Bobby Wagner, he was Bobby
Wagner.
And I mean, it'd be nice to see like these guys that play with that level. That they could play with that level, and Russell's playing at the clip he is. I wouldn't be surprised to see Seattle easily in the conference championships. Conference champion. You know?
Oh, no doubt. Atlanta should have done a little bit better play calling. I'll never forget when they were on the goal line. They on third and fourth down. Matt Ryan lined up under center and they passed the ball. Well, you know, between the 1 yard line and the 5 yard line, there's absolute chaos there for one thing.
Yeah.
And number two, you don't got time to pass, especially when you're lined up under the center. You know, and Atlanta's defense going forward, Atlanta's defense seems like it's well below average. So you can definitely get some fantasy numbers on that. And in saying that, I think Seattle's defense was below average in terms of fantasy points. Maybe they just played cushion just to let the ball go. But in the end, as good as Jamal Adams played on the goal line, fantasy-wise, they still let 455 passing yards go, Glenn.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe if you have receivers coming against these guys, you can look at that and insert them in your lineup.
I would start...
definitely... The NFC South is one division I was looking at, and I was going to say it's like a track meet, a fantasy track meet down there.
If Tom Brady is the worst quarterback in your division, you got a good division.
Yeah. but then that might sound almost like I was talking about Tom Brady and Teddy Bridgewater in the same conversation.
Yeah.
Last time we mentioned that, it didn't sound so favorable to Bridge, but.
But Brady was their fantasy purposes, though. I'll give him that. Anyway, speaking of Bridge, Las Vegas and the Panthers. Okay, I'm still having an issue calling the Raiders Las Vegas. 64 points in that game.
A lot. Definitely over. I didn't see that coming. 64
points between Derek Carr and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
This is exactly why I keep telling everybody we need a preseason.
Hello.
You know?
Yeah, we still don't know what teams are like yet.
But I'm not going to take anything away.
What they could be.
Not going to take anything away from the running backs in this game.
No.
CMC and Jacobs looked great. Panthers defense looked bad. You know?
Yeah.
And again, you know, the end of the game, the Panthers just had 3 timeouts. And what's with the play calling this week in terms of the end of the game? We'll go into Denver. Believe me, we're going to go into the Broncos, but this is another example of you need a preseason. Anyway, going into this game,
do what the Kings said, like you said.
Going into this game, I think Robbie Anderson had a long bomb and he out of a broken tackle. I'm not thinking too much about that. Bridge, I'm not lifting any higher or lower. I am definitely going to lift up Jacobs. Jacobs 3. You know, he caught what? Yeah. What did he got? 4 or 6 passes, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
4 passes. Yeah. He was definitely the bell cow.
Oh, definitely. And I like Jacobs. I wish I didn't get a lot of shares in him because I told people I like him and then they drafted him ahead of me. Anyway.
That's what you shouldn't tell them you like them that much.
No, well, that's a problem with having a podcast. Sometimes people listen.
Well, listeners, yes.
You talk about
for such good picks.
You talk about a Swiss cheese defense. Talk about go no later than the Minnesota Vikings. Oh my goodness.
Oh. You know what? I'm going to say this, but we were saying, but they got Aaron Rodgers no help. Aaron Rodgers still went to basically the conference championship last year, right?
Yeah.
They were with that same team, almost virtually the same team. They didn't, like you said, they didn't really go out and get him any help. Maybe to help him out, but that we said about a mad Aaron Rodgers being able to beat Minnesota. He's playing that mad already. I think Green Bay is going to surprise people this year.
I think so. You know, again, no preseason games. So we'll get a game total of 77, but still, Rodgers went with what worked. Like we called last week, stick with the quarterbacks and stick with the people who've been working together, Rodgers and Adams. And even Marquez Valdez-Scantling got into the mix.
Scantling and Lazard,
Yep.
You know, multiple catches between these guys. They either had either you get close to 100 yards or you get a touchdown. Both of them produced well over 10 points in fantasy.
Mm-hmm. And you know who I liked as well and went off was Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
You know, Adam Thielen's going to be huge this year. And, you know, Unfortunately, me and you played each other in fantasy this week, and I had Thielen and Ridley, but we'll talk.
Yeah, well, I got my lesson on the other side. I wasn't too concerned. I saw that. It was like, well, what am I going to do? What are you going to do?
But
that's just the way the ball bounces, right?
In saying that, you playing me also had one quarterback by the name of Cam Newton, who really had a solid first half, but they tend to kind of faded off into the second half. What's beneficial for them was Miami faded off into the second half.
Yeah, that didn't hurt them too. But at the same time, Newton, what was he? He threw for 155 yards. Is that right? He ran for 75, 2 touchdowns.
Newton's run game was key to the success for the Patriots.
You pointed out Josh McDaniel last pass there, and I'm thinking Josh McDaniel has basically a defensive end to run the ball for him out of the backfield.
Absolutely, he does. Josh McDaniels has Derrick Henry that can throw the ball, running the ball for him.
Yeah, who can throw the ball basically. So every touch, every play, he's basically expected to touch that ball. So what McDaniel come up with that offense, a good short passing game, a couple of bangers at running back, they're going to be a tough team to stop.
The one thing I'm going to take away from this game is one from each team. I'm going to take away the fact that New England's going to be tough but not high-scoring games. So if you've got Cam, that's the only thing I like fantasy-wise. And I don't like anything on the Dolphins, anything fantasy-wise or going forward. Yeah. The only thing I might like is Tua if he can get out there.
Yeah,
maybe, but that's not for this season.
I don't know. Do you think I want to let Tua go out there this year and get beaten up behind that line? You might want to invest a little bit more up front first.
After week 8, Tua goes out after their bye week.
Yeah,
Fitzy
had what three interceptions.
Fitzy had Fitzy. That's exactly what he had. Okay.
Yeah.
He was just. I mean, the guy is a backup quarterback, consummate backup. We might even see Tua before week 8. Because Tua, you have Tua. He's obviously behind a veteran quarterback. Now going into a game, speaking of veteran quarterbacks, you go into Tampa Bay and New Orleans. I mean, wow. I don't know what to make of this game other than
Other than we really need a preseason.
Yes.
Maybe that's all we should make of this game, as you keep saying. This game is probably a perfect example of that.
I'm going to change the name of this podcast from Pound the Rock to We Need a Preseason. So
let's hope they all get the message.
No.
Oh, my God.
And nothing for nothing, but Brady looked comfortable at first, but New Orleans picked up on his tendencies. He threw 3 interceptions. Now, he had a great fantasy day. He even ran a touchdown in. I think he threw 3.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, on the other hand, was... correct me if I'm wrong, but Drew Brees looked a little mediocre, and especially with Michael Thomas going down with an injury. There's only so much you can chip the ball to Darren Sproles. But again, this opens up the world for my buddy Jared Cook.
I was going to say, the tight end should be able to snag in a pass or two down the sideline like he was able to yesterday.
Absolutely, Jared Cook was very valuable to moving the ball yesterday. On Sunday in that game. But needless to say, you and I, we both were all over New Orleans, and we didn't disappoint. New Orleans won by 11. They were favored 3.5. But going forward, I'm not saying I don't like Brady. I think Brady's going to get even better.
Just needs timing.
No, absolutely. I still like Mike Evans. I still like Chris Godwin. Gronkowski, I'm still going to remain on the sidelines about. I don't think he's going to have a huge part. Maybe, Gronkowski's going to make a couple of great catches for converting third down, but I think they're saving Gronk for January. Yeah,
I was going to say something which is it gives them the luxury. They have the luxury of being able to wait. Mm-hmm. With that many guys to get connected with up front, he can work on that all year and get the timing down as good as you can with Godwin and Evans and that other receiver there, Scotty Mitchell, I think his name.
Yeah, it's Miller.
Scotty Miller.
Yeah, Scotty Miller's gonna be like a Wes Welker 3.0.
He got 9 targets.
Yeah,
9 targets, 8 catches in that game. So Brady trusts him. And that's important. That's going to be huge for him going forward. I mean, once you have his trust, then that's going to be one of the first places he looks. A couple of those misses he had with Evans, I saw was like, it's like, ooh, timing. One of them was about, breaking the pattern. Like, Arians said that, Brady should have, that Mike did the right thing. And people are questioning, well, is that really true? Well, it's their system. They know. So it says to me that, like I said, familiarity over time. So he's got to get used to their system, and then over time they'll get used to him and the way he plays, and they'll figure something out.
You want to talk to me about players getting used to systems? Talk to me about the New York Jets' performance against the Buffalo Bills.
The Jets.
Jamison Crowder was the Jets team.
Man, yeah, he had a great day for them, didn't he?
He went over 100 yards on, I think, 7 or 8 catches.
Yeah, and
a
it's
touchdown.
still the Jets. I still, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't criticize the team too much, but I'm surprised. I am actually surprised that Crowder had that good a day. When you look at Robbie Anderson, the day he had with
Carolina,
he with Carolina, he just slept the Jets, and he had a great day his first day out. And so I was wondering if there was something wrong with the Jets, but now Crowder shows up with this kind of stat line, 7 for 13, 115 yards and 1 touchdown. Like you said, pretty impressive for day one, but is it one of those things where we're seeing a preseason result?
Well, nothing for nothing. It is impressive that he did that against the Bills, right?
Yeah, very.
And it's also saying that it's also came. Not that I'm gonna knock. Oh my God, the Jets quarterback, that young kid.
Darnold.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. Not that I'm gonna knock Darnold, but Darnold's not given a lot to work with. Le'Veon Bell is going to be out a few weeks, so that's not just that he was a big, offensive threat for that offense. He really just didn't like Adam Gase. But one thing I want to talk about here is the Bills, and I was extremely impressed with Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, yeah.
But there was times Josh Allen looked like a rookie. He had a guy. He had a guy wide open in the back of the end zone. For life, I don't know who it was, and he threw the ball as if he was throwing it away, right over his head.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Allen's a big running, bruising type of quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's more his game. Those finesse things, like you said, the open receivers at the back of the end zone. Being able to hit on those things. Those are things championship quarterbacks do. Maybe he's not at that level yet.
Takeaways.
He was great. Don't get me wrong. He was still very impressive. I still love this game.
No. Don't get me wrong. He had a tremendous game. But alluding into that, takeaways from this game, the only thing I'm going to take away from the Jets is Jamison Crowder. And the Bills,
okay.
I really like Josh Allen. Josh Allen spread the ball around. One thing he did is he seems to be liking Stephon Diggs a little bit. Not a lot, but Stephon Diggs had 80-something yards receiving. Usually I would say the Jets and the Bills would be a toilet bowl game, but it actually wasn't that bad. Allen saved it. But talk about toilet bowl games when you go to the San Diego Chargers going into Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah.
The Chargers.
I saw that. I was excited to see the Joe Burrow unveiling.
I thought Joe Burrow did quite well.
He did.
I'm not saying Joe Burrow had a knock'em sock'em Cam Newton 2011 debut, but Joe Burrow came out. He managed the offense. He was very mature. He had a weak interception that could have led to a scoring drive. He just a little shovel pass to Giovanni Bernard and Melvin Gordon picked it off right in his lap. That at the end of the game, AJ Green, that was a weak pass interference call.
Yeah.
And then is it who's the kicker? It's driving me nuts. He missed a field goal at the end of the game, and not Tucker. I'll get to it.
For
the Bengals.
Bengals kicker.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Let me see. I'm gonna check his name here.
Yeah.
Because he He's probably. I should just check the IR because I think that's where he is. Isn't he?
Right?
Hold on. Let's see.
Bengals kicker makes that field goal. That game goes to overtime. Sam Darnold possibly wins. Sam Darnold's a hero. Not Sam Darnold. Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's a hero.
Yep. Young Joe.
AJ Green catches that ball in the end zone. Bengals win. Joe Burrow's a hero. I like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow ran a great. He's a big, tall, strong guy. He ran a touchdown in. The takeaways from this game are I don't feel comfortable fantasy wise from anybody from San Diego, except for maybe their defense. And the Bengals, I'm going to hold reservations to say it's bad. But I'm also going to hold reservations to say it's good. But I'm still saying that's a wait and see approach. But the potential is there with Burrow. I'm telling you right now.
Randy Bullock.
Randy Bullock, that's the one.
He used to kick for Houston, didn't he?
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely
right. Yeah.
How much time you want to spend on the Browns and Ravens game?
How many what, David?
How much time you want to spend on the Browns and Ravens game? Other than the fact that you start everybody from the Ravens every week you can.
Yeah, pretty well you'd be talking about the same guys on the Ravens and Dobbins coming out, the rookie doing well off the bench.
Two goal line touches, man.
Yeah,
didn't see that coming.
Cleveland, what's that?
2 goal line touchdowns. Didn't see that coming.
No, but then Cleveland also didn't see Baltimore coming. It seems too. The way they played.
No kidding. Again, every year Cleveland Browns hyped for the Super Bowl, but there's a problem. You're the Cleveland Browns. Don't forget.
Yeah, something happened on the way.
What's your?
They need some preseason. Those guys.
Oh, what's your feeling on Kareem Hunt out touching Nick Chubb?
Oh, Nick. I think that's. Well,
I think they trailed the whole game.
Pretty soon for a contract.
Chubb?
Or yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still on his rookie deal.
Okay. Yeah, and Kareem pretty well signed for more than a year or two, correct?
2-year extension. Yeah.
2-year extension. So he could be playing a year there after Chubb.
My opinion is as follows. Kareem Hunt was in that game majority because the Browns were trailing, and he's obviously their third down receiving back. I also believe, in my heart of hearts, not saying Nick Chubb's not talented, but Kareem Hunt is a step above Nick Chubb.
I was going to say Kareem Hunt remember where Kareem Hunt was before all this shit happened. He was one of the top 5 backs in the league. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like he went anywhere. He just ended up in Cleveland after all that stuff. And he's on their roster. He just happens to be the backup there because he happened to have Chubb signed for all that money up front. But that's why I was just wondering, they just signed Hunt to that extension. These are interesting COVID times, and Chubb's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody else will pay it. Takeaways from this game is keep an eye on the Browns running backs and literally start everybody from Baltimore that you can going forward.
Yeah.
Now,
wow, offense and defense over there.
One enigma in terms of football was the Bears and the Lions.
Oh yes, we didn't see Trubisky train coming.
For 3 quarters, the Lions owned the Bears.
Yeah, as usual.
For 1 quarter, Trubisky owned the Lions.
Yeah, it has to be the 4th.
Did you see how frustrated Matt Stafford was in his post-game press conference?
Yeah. I can imagine.
Glenn, you and I look like geniuses calling the Lions to crush the Bears in this game last week.
I think we were calling them to crush them by 40 points, weren't we? Something close to that.
Even I said 42-10.
Yeah. Yeah. It was supposed to be a big hammering, and it was to our fantasy prognostications, man. So that was brutal.
Let me ask you this. Does Trubisky and the Bears keep this going, or is it just because Trubisky's red hot against the Lions that this happened?
Well, I'm looking at this Trubisky red hotness against the Lions thing seems to be something that happens. It doesn't happen the rest of the year.
No.
Not frequently.
No.
So, and like you said too, we also need a preseason. So this Trubisky hotness may actually last for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Really?
It may.
Where do you?
If they play the Lions again during the 2 or 3 weeks, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, after that, I don't know. I'd probably just put them on the bench and leave them there.
Where do you hold? Where do you hold the Lions going forward?
The Lions. Well, the Lions were missing Galladay too, right?
That's
so
true.
I think that really affected how they played in this game. They wouldn't have been that close at the end. They wouldn't have been throwing to Swift. That really important catch at that time.
If the ball doesn't bounce off DeAndre Swift, that's a different game. DeAndre Swift went out for a pass and hit him right in the chest, and it right on the floor.
Yeah, and then what are you going to do? Hey, if Swift catches that ball, then
different story.
Then we're not talking about Trubisky as the hero. It's just like, well, Mitch lost again. Right? We wouldn't even be looking at fantasy stats or anything. We'd just be thinking, no, he's got to go. Like, Folds is going to come in or something like that, right? But,
that was definitely surprising what happened in that game. Was it as surprising as the Cardinals beating the Niners?
Actually, not with recent history. I think the Cardinals have shown themselves to be competitive against the Niners. I don't know.
You're absolutely right.
They're always going to beat them. That, to be honest, though, I didn't expect them to win. I really expected the Niners to go in there and their home opener and beat. It made me not crush the Cardinals, but at least beat them.
The Niners should never have been favored 7. The firepower that Arizona had, the Niners couldn't comprehend with. They just had too many injuries, and the Cardinals, there was no home field advantage, and the Cardinals are just getting better and better as the weeks go. Again, I'm an advocate of Kyler Murray for league MVP. I'm telling you right now. I do believe the Niners the Niners offense is slightly above average.
Yeah.
But the one thing is that Niners defense, as good as it is, when you have a scrambling quarterback, they had no answer for Murray.
Yeah, he needed that spy, robber, the one like linebacker or safety can follow him.
It's got to be a linebacker or safety. It can't be or some sort of a defensive end or like a speed defensive end. But my goodness, Murray just ran all over them. And going forward, I think Kyler Murray, if Kyler Murray can do that against San Francisco, Kyler Murray can do that against anybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's not many teams. You have to look at who has a lot of speed on their defense. They'd be the only teams best suited to cover a scrambling quarterback like that. But then you would have to worry about the power of the running game that they employ so well too.
How did Kenyon Drake do in that game?
Drake did. He did okay. He didn't do great. I mean, he didn't have what you would expect for an RB1. Like for me personally, let me see what did Drake do. He did not wonderful. Here we go. He did 13.5 fantasy points. He got 60 yards, 16 carries, 60 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 2 for 2 as far as receptions for 5 yards. So. Yeah, he did okay.
He did as good as you can expect against the 49ers defense.
Exactly. It's a 49ers defense, so I don't expect much points when it's like that spot on the roster, like on the schedule, you look at and you say, well, I don't expect them to go out for 30 points that week. No. That's like a tough defense. It's like when I look at running games against Chicago or, passing games. Some defenses, they're just good.
So, again, in terms of football teams that should do what they should do and they don't, there's only one thing I can say to the Cowboys-Rams game. I just don't understand how Dallas could have possibly,
lost.
Why are teams going for it when they're down 3 on 4th down when they can kick a field goal to tie?
I don't know. There's a lot of pressure, it seems, or something. I don't know. Maybe there's a bonus in it for the coaches to make, to not tie.
Yeah, right.
I mean, hey, what's wrong with a little overtime to give your team a chance to win?
The way I see it is the coaches
giving up now and going home. Maybe it's COVID scaring them or something.
Or the coaches are still looking at it like preseason. They want to try certain situations. It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, maybe it's like Herm Edwards put years ago. The seasons in quarters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so right now it's the first quarter. stuff. Like you said, right?
There were-
We don't have the luxury of preseason, so maybe they're using the first 3 games of the year as preseason.
There were times I was looking at that Dallas offense going, oh, wow, these guys are for real. Then there's times looking at the Dallas offense going, you know, you guys are letting,
like a lot of Cowboy fans are probably saying that.
you guys, the Cowboys are just letting Aaron Donald just go right into that backfield.
Yeah, why are you doing that?
I mean, he just tore apart that Dallas offensive line.
Yeah, Mr. Disruption.
I just Dak moved the ball well. I'll give him that when he was on. Dallas's defense was average. One thing I will say about Dallas's defense was Alden Smith looked very good. You know, Dallas's offense was not bad at best. CeeDee Lamb, I thought, had a horrible game.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing I'm going to say is there was not enough Ezekiel Elliott in this game running the ball.
Well, Zeke had, 96 yards? He got 22 touches, which is a fair amount. 22 touches for 96 yards, 1 touchdown.
But why do you think I say run the ball?
Well,
you got to isolate Aaron Donald.
You got to control the clock, control the ball, you control the game.
No, you're exactly right. You had to isolate Aaron Donald. The Rams went up and down the field on them at first.
Yeah.
You know, just crazy. And if the Cowboys would have, that's nothing for nothing, I would have had $350 in my pocket if the Cowboys would have beat 3 points. But I don't know. They went for it on 4th down. Must have known I was betting on them. Regardless, let's drop Dallas. Now, going forward on Dallas, I like Zeke. I like Dak. There's a lot I like about Dallas. I love, oh my God. Let's not even get to that pass interference call against Jalen Ramsey.
Boy.
Oh, from Gallup. Gallup's another one I like.
Yeah, Ramsey totally sold that.
And the refs bought it.
Yeah.
One thing about the Rams, do you like Marlon Brown or do you like Cam Akers going forward?
No.
15 touches.
Because right now Brown's hot. I think over there you're going to have a situation because of the way how the style in that division. Not to say that any other running back there is immune to this, but I think for some reason I'm just seeing them as one of these guys getting injured and the other guy stepping in to take over. That's how I see this because Brown was actually behind Akers on the chart.
Yeah, Akers started.
Yeah, and so now you have something different, right? At this point, game 1 of this first quarter, as if you put it, our preseason within the season.
Yes,
in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Preseason within the season. Well said.
Yeah, you just got to kind of ride the hot hand with the running game over there in LA. It's best to have both those guys on your roster if you're going to do things. And don't forget the third guy too.
Darrell Henderson.
Whoever, I forget what his name is, but
Darrell Henderson.
Henderson.
Yeah.
Henderson was another guy who was supposed to be there because he was.
Oh no,
he was in the conversation last year.
I drafted him.
Yeah,
with to back up Akers.
I mean, that LA running game. Like I said, David, if you're going to own one running back in that thing, you might as well grab all 3 because
easily.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the week.
Somebody who didn't quite really need a preseason, he only needed about tight ends again this year. I don't know what to tell you about tight ends. Everybody's going crazy. I think there are 20 tight ends you can start on your team this year. Great. And there was just no shutting them down. Now, in terms of saying that, Juju's never looked better without Antonio Brown. In terms of saying that, the Giants' secondary, as hard as they played at first, they let their true colors come out, and the Steelers just walked all over them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, in terms of the Giant offense, it didn't look – it was a good-looking offense. You know, he had a couple of drops, and then it just went sloppy. Daniel Jones was taking too long, and it was just – it just didn't – it looked really good. I think there's potential, but they couldn't get the run game going.
Yeah, you said it when you said you liked the way they started, right? You liked the way they started the Giants.
Yeah.
Against the Steelers. Now both teams coming in, like you said, just kind of think Steelers one of the top defenses in the league. And the Giants came in and played well against them at the start. So, but I mean, both teams took a while to get going. And as you said, true colors start coming out. I still like where the Giants are going.
I do. I mean, they got a tough first half. They got a tough first half of the schedule, but then they go pretty good the second half. They got a pretty easy schedule.
Yeah. I'm thinking, like you said, that team in the second half is going to be a surprise. They're going to surprise a lot of people.
Oh, I hope so. Now, we're going to go on to a game that I literally got so upset watching. I blew the dust off the PlayStation, put Madden on, and just pummeled the computer just to at least get my sanity back after watching the Titans beat the Broncos.
Yeah, that's the game I was thinking.
I mean, right off the bat, Drew Lock looked good.
Yeah.
He went down, touchdown. The Denver defense, nothing for nothing. The Titans just converted every third down. They walked up and down the field. I'm going to hand to the Broncos. They certainly held Derrick Henry, considering how many attempts he got. And the one thing I noticed was that it was such a poorly managed game for Denver. And I think Vic Fangio is dancing on thin ice this year if he can't pull it together. Because John Elway gave him everything he wanted on defense. He gave him everything he could possibly want on offense. It was Fangio who lost this game, not Denver.
Well, yeah. The decision making. You pointed that out. With 3 minutes left on the clock.
3 minutes 55 seconds. You got the ball with a point lead. Okay, luckily for some odd reason, the Stephen Gostkowski decided to miss four kicks, 3 field goals, and an extra point. You have a lead.
Totally helped out your cause.
Oh my God! You have a lead in Titan territory, and you throw the ball twice and have incomplete passes with Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Really, and then you're down on the goal line. You're down on the goal line. You're tie game. Why are you not kicking a field goal?
Yeah, exactly. But take the lead. Take the lead. Take control of the game. You have that very expensive defense the management paid for.
I just don't understand.
As you pointed out. Yeah.
I just don't understand. The Titans gave the Denver the game. Denver's defense was playing hard. I really liked Jarrell Casey, and I really liked the linebacker Josie Jewell. He lit up.
Yeah, he was good.
Derek,
impressive.
But again,
and, their defensive backs did a great job in coverage, I thought too.
Absolutely. There was just some sloppy mistakes made by some linebackers on Denver, on both sides, really. One of the players was ejected. But one thing I'm going to say is I'm still excited for Drew Lock going forward. Not next week against Pittsburgh, but I'm still excited for Lock going forward because he looked calm. Jerry Jeudy looked good. Jerry Jeudy he dropped 2 passes, but they had no answer for Jerry Jeudy off the line. Jerry Jeudy just ran and got open.
Yeah, Judy dropped a couple of passes here, but I mean, wow, I saw this
wide open though.
This kid, once he starts holding on to those things, those are game-changing plays. He's he's got his hands there.
The Broncos are a little bit embarrassed. They've gone 18-1 in their last 19 home openers, and they lose a game that was handed to them. If I'm John Elway, I'm calling up Mr. Vic Fangio into my office and saying, "Hey, Mr. Fangio, you have all the reason to win that game, but you exactly did everything to lose that game. Unacceptable. Yeah. You're on thin ice. Nothing more like this. You've got a heck of an offense that he's built for Drew Lock and company. Even the offensive line wasn't even that bad. It could have been much worse. Garrett Bowles looked good out there. I'll give him that. But the defense did well considering they're a little bit bumpy and banged up. Even though they lost A.J. Boye during the game, they still pulled together. It was the decisions from a coach's perspective that lost Denver that game. Yeah. Vic Fangio's got to be careful. Takeaways from this game is Ryan Tannehill's a good game manager. They're definitely going to Derrick Henry. So that's good. Jonnu Smith did well. They Davis.
They utilized him.
Corey Davis, I'm not excited about. But one thing I'm going to take away from Denver is I'm not going to shy away from Drew Lock and Jerry Jeudy, especially when Cortland Sutton comes back. But the decision making on that, Drew Lock's going to have to be a matchup play, unfortunately. Like next week against the Steelers, I'm not putting him in. I'm actually starting Joe Burrow in a 2-quarterback league over Lock next week.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, Burrow's up against Cleveland there, right?
Yeah. Anyway, Glenn, here's what we'll do. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and we'll look at Week 2's matchups, and we'll go over some spreads and some fantasy advice.
Okay, Dave.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Pound the Rock. We'll be back on the flip side. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to Pound the Rock. I am your host, David Pletta, and with me, as always, is my longtime friend, Glenn, otherwise known as G, otherwise known as my Week 1 adversary that I happen to beat quite well.
Hi, David. Thanks for the butt whipping, by the way. It was really fun. Looking forward to Week 2, actually.
Well, listen, usually you and I, we always finish in the playoffs every year in this league anyway. But if I was to lose to somebody, I would hope it'd be you. But just this week,
thank you.
Just this week, you lost to me.
Your team went off like crazy this week.
Oh no!
I scored the week, right?
They did. Oh, I'm actually.
Congratulations once again.
I'm actually first in both leagues, this league and the cash league. Anywho,
it's got to be a good feeling.
Oh,
That's awesome.
No! It's
okay.
Now it's game time.
Okay.
There's my boy Chris Berman. The Raiders.
Boomer.
Let's start with Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. Okay, Cleveland Browns are actually favored 6 points in this game. From a fantasy perspective, I like Burrows, I like AJ Green, I like Tyler Boyd. Cleveland, I've never been a fan of Joe Mixon, but you start him this week. Cleveland, I do have to say that Cleveland-wise, I like both running backs because last week, as sloppy as a game that was, Eckler still looked good. I just didn't think Tyrod managed the game well. In terms of passing perspective, I think that Odell Beckham Jr. Definitely goes off this week, Glenn.
Yeah, I would hope so. Baker's got to put the first week behind him, and the Browns just have to get back to business and focus on what's important. I think they'll cover the spread this week.
You think? I'm going to actually lean the other way, and I'm going to go Bengals this week.
Okay.
In the spread. Okay, game number 2. Falcons at the Cowboys. Cowboys favored 4.5. For starters here, if you've got players on either team, you start them in this game. Everybody gets started. I don't think in a million years the Cowboys are beating the Falcons by 4.5. Right? As much as I think the Cowboys are a good team, that game management last week lost me. I think that the Falcons are Dan Quinn's got them roaring much more solid than McCarthy's got Dallas going right now. I think Matt Ryan and his three amigos are going off. And I still think Dallas is still figuring themselves out. They're going to be great, but I still think they're figuring themselves out. They should have never in a million years lost last week's game. They beat themselves. Again, if you got Falcons, if you got Cowboys, you're starting them. The only thing that I'm going to say in this game is fantasy-wise, heed expectations from Todd Gurley. But I like the Falcons to beat the spread at 4.5, Glenn.
Yeah, I like what you said about heeding the expectations for Gurley against the Dallas defense. Mm-hmm. The running game, they'll slow him down in the run. They'll focus on him, key on him for a bit. Other than that, it's like you said, Atlanta is going to go that passing game. They just released a three-headed monster last week. We saw where they had 3 receivers all go over 100 yards and all scored. They all had
9 catches.
I expect much closer game. Barn burner, like you said, points everywhere for receivers. Dallas is amazing receiving as well. Dak's going to throw the ball. Matt's going to throw the ball.
Definitely.
The ball's going to be flying up and down all day. There's nobody in the stands. They're going to be able to hear the cadences or calls or adjustments as they need to. No drowning out of anything. So both teams are going. We're looking at within 4 points, a field goal at the end.
Field goal game, but it's
I think Cowboys by a field goal.
okay. I got the Falcons within. I got the Falcons to keep it within 4.5. Okay,
So we're right there. Yeah.
here's America's favorite game of the week. Buffalo Bills go into the Miami Dolphins. Bills are favored 5.5. Now, from what we just saw last week about Josh Allen's very good. He's going to clean his game up. Quite frankly, I was not impressed with the Dolphins at all last week. I mean, the Dolphins, again, beat themselves. And for that reason, I'm going to start whatever I can in Buffalo against Miami. I don't like anybody fantasy-wise in Miami at all this week. I'd like the Bills to go in and just push the Dolphins around. Bills by at least 7 to 10 points this week.
Okay. What was the score of the Miami-New England game? Was it by
21-11.
That much of it, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at basically the same type of thing. A big running quarterback, some receivers downfield, half decent running game. You've got a stellar defense. Same thing Miami's faced last week. Same thing they faced them in this week. They're going down by the same amount of points. So let's just say that.
Beautiful. So you like the Bills on this one?
Yeah, I do.
Fantasy-wise, who do you like?
In this one?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, in this one, give me Buffalo offense all day. Give me the receivers, believe it or not, in Buffalo this week. Plus both running backs if you want. You can even throw in if you're really looking for not that you should be looking for a tight end filler at this time, but look at Knox for Buffalo. He may not be such a bad tryout here.
Exactly.
If anytime they're going to try something, this might be the week to do it.
Now, here's something interesting, and I really, really like this game. Okay? I like Carolina Panthers at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay's favorite 9 points. First of all,
Carolina.
Yeah. Starting at
Sorry.
fantasy.
That's all. I don't have to be. Carolina. 9 points. Too much. Carolina.
Fantasy wise, again, I like Bridge. I like obviously McCaffrey's in your lineup even on his bye weeks.
Yeah.
Carolina wide receivers. Obviously, you got to go with DJ Moore, definitely. In terms of anything else on there, I'm not gonna brag about it. Tampa Bay wise, you definitely start Tom Brady. You definitely start the 2 wide receivers.
Godwin, Evans,
running back.
Howard.
Running back wise, I'm still on the fence. I really like that Miller kid from Tampa Bay. But I
would take Miller if you want to guarantee at 8 and 9 points. Get Miller.
Oh, sure. PPR, he's 10 points easy, and hopefully he gets into the end zone. 9 points in this game. You know what? I'm still going to say Carolina because I just don't know if Tampa Bay is going to be beating people up. Carolina literally almost beat the Raiders last week, and the Raiders are a seasoned team as it is in third year under Gruden. I don't think 9 points is. I think 9 points is too much. I'm with you. I like Carolina on this game.
Yeah, last week Carolina scored more points than I thought they would, and Tampa Bay scored less points than I thought they would.
Completely. Here's one I don't like: the Broncos at the Steelers.
At the Steelers.
The Broncos at Pittsburgh. I don't like very many people fantasy-wise for Denver. Maybe if you need it, you're in a pinch, you start Noah Fant. Cortland Sutton, it depends if he plays or not. I'm still not a big fan of that. Cortland Sutton or Judy. Sutton maybe in the flex if you need. But for Pittsburgh...
I would definitely start Fant.
Yeah. Fant for me is pretty much a top 10, lock. Probably a 10 to 12 tight end here because tight ends are so deep. Pittsburgh-wise, in terms of fantasy, you start Ben. Ben's gonna surgically manipulate this Broncos defense. AJ Boye plays. I'm taking Juju out, and
I was gonna say he's gonna go to the strength.
Deontay Johnson, 7.5 point Steelers over the Broncos. The only reason why I'm going to take Denver on this one is because of that half point. I can see a 14-7 here or even a 17-10 Steeler win, but that half point's going to lead me towards Denver on the spread, John.
Yeah, I would go Denver. I call an upset, 10-7.
Oh, wow. Good on you.
I'm a Steelers fan.
Oh, you think Denver's going to win this game?
Yeah, you know what? I do. I don't know why. It's just a weird thing. I mean, it's early season, preseason.
Yeah,
You know, call it if you're going to do it. If you're going to jump on a team anytime, it's the time to do it. And if Pittsburgh's like thinking about something else, like I don't know who they've got coming up on their schedule, but
Baltimore.
yeah, a little distraction. That's all you need. If you're not paying attention,
No,
you get jumped on. And right now Denver is like they've just lost a key player, right? Key player or two for them, so
they lost.
they might be.
They lost they lost a brutal game by a color or two as well.
Yeah. So they need to make up some stuff here, right?
Going into this next game, I think we're going to see a lot of fantasy points as Detroit goes to Green Bay.
Oh yeah,
I
Give me
think
all the receivers.
I'll give you all the receivers. Let's not even worry about a running back in this game because I just don't think either team even knows they have running backs.
Not this week.
It all depends on Kenny Galladay whether or not he plays. If I'm comfortable starting T.J. Hawkinson, if Galladay plays, Hawkinson drops to about probably a 13 or 14 tight end. If he doesn't play, Hawkinson's a top 5 tight end all day long. And from fantasy wise, going into the Packers, I like both receivers, actually all three receivers quite a bit, considering you saw what Trubisky was able to do against Detroit last week. Everybody says that Marvin Jones Jr. had a bag. Marvin Jones Jr. had a clutch catches in that game. So in saying that, I'm definitely starting Rodgers. I'm definitely starting Devontae Adams, and I'm definitely starting MVS and Lazard.
Yeah, those guys will all be picking up points like crazy. As well, Detroit.
And I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay -6 all day long.
Yeah, Green Bay by 6. Yeah.
All day long.
I mean, they had a couple close games there last year, but yeah, Green Bay's gonna pull it out. No problems, no issues there.
I'm not sure what the point total is on this one, but I'm definitely taking the under. Jacksonville Jaguars go to the Tennessee Titans. In terms of a fantasy value, how do you not start Minshew in this game? I think the Jaguars are going to dink and dunk along the Titans, just like the Titans did to Denver last week. Running back wise for the Jaguars, I don't think they know who's starting for running back for them. Wide receivers for the Jaguars, I'm not hungry on anybody besides DJ Chark. Going to the Titan side of things, you definitely start Derrick Henry, which I think he has a bounce back week this week because the Colts ran up and down the Jaguars. But one thing I don't like is the Titans by 9. I like the Jaguars all day long to keep it closer.
Tennessee, I think it's an interdivision game. So I don't know. Give me Tennessee 10 points.
What do you like fantasy wise?
That's fantasy wise this week. Henry, Chark. I know it may seems weird, but Chark's the only person. Maybe Minshew, like you said. If you need if it's two quarterback league, I'd definitely go with Minshew. Oh, and look for what's his name there? Maybe that kid. Hopefully, Aaron Brown, the receiver for Tennessee, has a bounce back game. If not him,
AJ
then
Brown.
Corey Davis will just maintain his level. But one of those two receivers from Tennessee is definitely going to be in their mix this week. Oh, and sorry, Jonas Smith, another tight end. Okay, I'm done.
All right, buddy. Next game in line. Where are we here? LA Rams at the Eagles. Okay. I am all over Los Angeles Rams defense in this game. I think Goff and Wentz are going to battle each other out. I like Cooper Kupp, obviously. I like Bobby Trees, Brandon Cook, Robert Woods. And in terms of Philly, Miles Sanders coming back. Start him because he's not exactly too happy about missing the game last week, and he's coming back. Carson Wentz, if you got him, you start him.
Yeah.
Receivers for the Eagles though is the issue. I don't know.
It's only tight ends.
I was about to say Goddard. At this point, Goddard goes in your lineup. I understand Blake Jarwin didn't do too much against the Rams last week, but they're going to focus around Ertz. Goddard's going to be open. The issue here is that the Rams are favored by 1. I'm taking the Rams to beat that spread simply because Aaron Donald and that
disruption.
If he can disrupt the Cowboys' offensive line, what's he going to do against the Philly offensive line?
Yeah, and they just gave up those 8 sacks too.
Oh, they just gave up 8 sacks to a rookie and the Redskins.
Yeah.
What do you think in that game, Glenn?
I'm thinking. Eagles are going down for some strange reason.
I think.
Why am I thinking that? Yes. Hate to say it, but it's probably true.
Here's an interesting one. Minnesota Vikings go to the Indianapolis Colts. 2 teams that barely showed up last week. But fantasy implications first. I really like Dalvin Cook in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Dalvin Cook in every game. I will not recommend starting any other receiver in Minnesota, okay, besides our boy Adam Thielen, which makes
absolute sense when you look at what happened last week.
It makes perfect sense. He's the only thing they had, him and Cook.
Yeah.
Again, in saying that, Kirk Cousins is still a low-end starter for me. Kirk Cousins could throw for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Thielen can get 149 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Okay. Colts-wise, I'm not going to be sold on any Colts running game yet. I think Naheem Hines gets the pass catching is going to be there. I like Phillip Rivers this week because after seeing what Aaron Rodgers did to Minnesota last week, Rivers will figure out a way. I think you start Paris Campbell, you start T.Y. Hilton, and I'm even going to throw in a sleeper pick. Michael Bennett is the wide receiver for Indianapolis. Start him this week too. -3 points. I'm going to have to say that Colts are favored 3. Vikings going into Indianapolis. You're bitter. I'm going to say the competition goes to Phillip Rivers. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, Colts by 3,
Yeah.
Colts by 3, Vikings on the road when there's no crowd noise. There is no crowd. Are they allowing crowds in Indiana?
I don't know, but there's ambient noise.
Know. Yeah, you know what? Okay, so let's just say that just bet against Aaron Rodgers last week and bet with Minnesota. I'm going to bet against Minnesota this week. I'm going to go with the Colts. Colts by 3
in
Indy.
And there you have it. New York Giants against the Chicago Bears. I'm still out on the loop on the Bears defense after seeing what Stafford and the offense in Detroit did. On the other hand, I also don't like the Giants set defense. So again, fantasy-wise, are you putting forth Mitchell Trubisky and going up against the Giants secondary? Are you going ahead with Daniel Jones against the Bears secondary? I'm going to tell you why I like Daniel Jones and I like Darius Slayton and I like Sterling Shepard. Obviously, we're going to get a bounce back from Saquon because the Bears last week faced Matt Stafford. Okay? The Giants last week faced the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers defense going to be a lot harder than the Bears defense. I understand there's still some residual defense from when Fangio was still there. There's no way on this planet the Bears are beating the Giants by 4.5 points, so I'm all over the Giants on that one. And saying that, fantasy-wise, Daniel Jones is a QB2. Put those receivers out, put Saquon out there, and I'm going to go out and say I am not starting Trubisky this week with the same confidence as I did after watching that game last week. The Giants are not the Lions. Give me the Giants plus 4.5.
Nice. I would say fantasy-wise, I like... Oh, who do I like here? I like Barkley, Jones, Slayton.
Yep, Darius Slayton,
the receiver. Yeah, he's not the star. He's like the number 2 or 3 receiver in New York, right?
The what the
Because
heck?
Shepard the number one receiver in New
Shepard's
York?
number one. What's that guy that plays in the slot? That little quick guy. I keep forgetting his name
Oh,
for the
I used
Giants.
to know it was Victor Cruz. Oh, but it's not
Oh
that
yeah,
anymore.
not Victor Cruz.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like Slayton for some reason. I
No,
just
no. Oh, definitely start Slayton.
yeah. So those guys there for the Giants for Chicago. Who, offensively, I don't really like anybody
No.
on this
It was
offense.
a fluke last week.
Yeah. I'm not a believer in them quite yet. I think Trubisky, like I said, he may get hot if he's riding this hot thing. It may be for this week, but if I was going to ride any time with him, this would be the time to do it. If that was the case, I'd take Allen Robinson the third to be my receiver, as opposed to I'd take Allen Robinson to actually have a half decent game this week, but that would mean for him like 50 yards. I'm sorry being sarcastic about that, but
Yeah.
the kind of games Chicago doesn't get a lot of really good passing games to the receivers, so I can't see much happening there. Trubisky somehow is going to stack together a stat line. It's going to be like a good stat line for a game manager. But that's it.
A-Rob can go off. I agree with you there. But what do you think about the spread? 4.5 Bears.
Give me the Giants.
Okay,
New York.
this one should be easy. 49ers go into the Jets next week. I'm going to say this. It's pretty much going to give away my pick as it is. The 49ers are only favored 7. All right?
Yeah, I know. It seems a little weird. It seems a little low. But maybe there's something we missed in that Jets game. They're a better team than we expected.
I just think that the fact that the 49ers lost, they're playing them low here.
Yeah, totally. Because I don't know if the Niners are necessarily worse than the Bills.
Nope.
And the Bills beat the Jets pretty good.
The Bills handled the Jets really good. If it wasn't for that long pass to my boy Crowder there, they wouldn't have even been close to the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, San Fran.
Fantasy
Cover the
wise,
points.
Fantasy-wise, give me
Mostert.
Yeah, Mostert.
Kittle. He's coming back.
Yep,
this
Kittle.
week.
Even a low end QB. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'd say high end QB2. Give me Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say the only Jet that I like is Crowder.
Yeah.
And even Le'Veon Bell's out too next week.
Who's that? Donald?
No, Le'Veon Bell's out.
Oh, Le'Veon. Yeah, Le'Veon's out. So Gore's in.
There you go. Welcome to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Now here's one that's extremely intriguing. Okay, the Washington football team go to the Arizona Cardinals.
That's going to be
Right off the bat, I don't like anybody Washington fantasy wise. You can say what you want about Terry McLaurin; he could be their only option. But Cardinal wise, you got him, you start him. Cardinals by 6.5. Give me Cardinals. I'll take the Cardinals all day long here. Make sure you get Kyler Murray in your roster and you get DeAndre Hopkins.
I'll say Hopkins for sure. Murray, yeah. Drake, I'm not so sure because I think Washington's gonna come strong up front. Their defensive line.
Yeah.
I just realized that
They're going to get gassed by the second half chasing Murray.
Yeah, it's like 5 of those guys were like round 1 picks or first round picks.
I'm still not a big believer in the offense.
And they showed up in the second half against Philly yesterday.
Oh, they did.
It's just like, so I'm not really sure what we're dealing with there. Like I said, Rivera's got some plans. We have a lot of non-information. We really don't know much about Washington. Aside from that, they showed up yesterday against Philly, and they scored 27 points, shut Philly down. They have a bunch of first-rounders on that line. They're playing like a team we don't know who they are, and these are weird times. So,
and you're right. And something along those points are the reason why it took Arizona last week.
Yeah, and Arizona did it to San Francisco, right? Like totally unexpected for most people. And this would be a scenario because Arizona's looking good right now, and nobody's really people are sleeping on Washington.
Oh.
You know, I'm guilty of that myself. So I'm going to say Washington gets into the spread.
Okay. We differ.
I think if anybody's on Washington for fantasy this week, you might want to look at Haskins, maybe trying to keep up to Murray.
No, true.
You know,
And McLaurin.
Yeah, he showed up the second half of the game. So let's see what else he's got. Maybe he has something planned. Maybe Rivera likes something he has in the kid. Maybe he's going to get him to do a bunch of those short, choppy passes and chip away like that type of game. You know, ball control a little bit. Could work for him.
Baltimore Ravens go to the Houston Texans. Ravens favored by 7. If you're playing fantasy this week, you're starting both Ingram and Dobbins. You're starting Lamar. You're starting Brown and Mark Andrews. Texans side of things, I think that you're definitely starting Deshaun. You're definitely starting Fuller. I think Cooks is going to get about 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Deshaun Johnson. Cook's going to get 2 or 3 catches. I like David Johnson to have a big game, PPR only. But I'm still going to say Baltimore wins this 35 to about 20. I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah. 35-27. Something like that, I'm thinking.
What do you think fantasy-wise?
That's what, 8 points?
Yep. So it's a 7-point spread.
Baltimore by 8.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think fantasy-wise? Pretty much.
Fantasy-wise, yeah, like everybody you just named.
Yeah.
You know, as far as Akins, the tight end for Houston goes, I think he's more of a touchdown vulture. He's not a ball mover up and down thing.
Yeah, he's not. He's not 8 catches for 100 yards.
Yeah, he's going to be like 4 passes a game, maybe 40, 50 yards, and maybe a touchdown or 2, that type of thing.
As much as I like a team, the following week that played Thursday night the previous week, it's still the Ravens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On that note, on that note, the next game, Kansas City Chiefs against the LA Chargers. Chiefs favored 8.5. Fantasy-wise, you do the usual suspects on the Chiefs. I'm going to say heed your expectations on Clyde Edwards-Helaire because the Chargers are a much better defense than the Texans. I really do believe that the Chiefs are going to score points. I do not believe the Chargers are going to keep up. As much in saying that, you have an outside chance as a Tyrod Taylor coming for a top 10 fantasy quarterback this week. Keenan Allen, I think, definitely picks it up again this week. He bounces out of the woodwork. I like Mike Williams again this week because it doesn't seem like Tyrod's afraid to go to him. Austin Eckler, catching out of the backfield, I'm going to give him, he's going to probably finish a top 20. I don't think him as a top 10. So, like I said, start your Chiefs. Heed expectations on the running game. Start your Mahomes. Start your Kelsey. Start your Tyreek. The flip side is I do not see Sammy Watkins doing what he did last week because he never does the consistency.
Right.
Robinson,
Hardman?
I'm thinking Robinson and Hardman are gonna split the rest, but I do not think that this game will be.
Fellow, right?
What's that?
We mentioned that Kelsey fellow as well, right?
We did, yeah. We was the first one we mentioned.
Okay, good. Sorry, yeah.
In saying that, I do not believe this game will be close. Give me KC over San Diego.
Yeah.
Give me Kenzie over Los Angeles.
That was like 8.5, was it?
Yep. That's not enough. Let me ask you this: who's a better team? Okay, who's a better team?
Easily KC.
Yeah,
but this is like an interconference type of thing and weirdness. So I know last week I came off and said like Houston, the KC will beat them at 14, but this is one of those games where Kansas City should beat them by 14. But Tyreek didn't go off as crazy as I hope he would have last week.
Well, he still got 5 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, which just doesn't seem like a lot. Which seems like it seems like he was sleeping.
But the second half
stats are usually right.
The second half of that game, Andy Reid ran it like it was a preseason game. You can tell that Mahomes wasn't slinging it. They're still trying to get things in line. I just can't. I can't see oh my goodness! I can't see the LA Chargers keeping up with the Chiefs in this one. And I don't think Tyrod's as good as Deshaun Jackson, and they couldn't even keep it within 14.
Yeah, I know. But something bounces in my head. It's like it says any given Sunday.
No, you're absolutely right.
And I think in this weirdness, this would be the one time. This would be the one weird game we can look at and say KC wins by 8 points, not 8.5, but by 8.
True.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm going to have to go with the Chargers to cover the 8.5.
You're just going with the Chargers because you look exactly like Anthony Lynn.
I like the beard, but all that aside, Chargers by Chargers cover the spread.
Beat
not
the
to
spread.
win the game, but to cover the spread. Yeah, to beat the spread. Sorry.
You ready for this one? This is going to be this is going to be interesting. Boy, did this ever have different implications this year than it would have last year. New England Patriots. Okay, go into Seattle. Seattle's favored 3.5. Fantasy wise, right off the bat, Cam Newton. Right.
Yeah.
In terms of here's the tricky part of things. I definitely like Edelman to be a point per catch monster, but is Cam going to throw to the running backs? As much as I want to say James White, I'm not going to put any running backs from New England on this game because they did literally nothing last week. Cam vultured everything.
Yeah.
Seattle wise, I don't think New England's ready for Russell. I don't know how Belichick's gonna take him out. As much as I think Belichick is going to be one that's going to calm down the Seahawks. Seattle is good at home, but in terms of Seattle at home, there is no home field advantage. Just from what I saw last week, as good as Seattle was, I want Russell and I want DK, I want Lockett, I want Carson, and I know exactly, and I like Seattle minus 3.5.
Yeah, I like Seattle with this game too, and everybody you just mentioned about for Seattle, Russell, Carson, Lockett, what's the other receiver there?
DK.
DK. And was there another receiver in Seattle too? Because if they got a third one, I'd even throw him in, just because. Like look at what they did last week. Maybe I'm impressed with what happened with Atlanta and their 3 receivers.
Oh,
it's
but again, you got to remember the Seahawks allowed 450 yards, but I don't see Cam having receivers in a game like Matt Ryan and the Falcons do.
No, Cam not having receivers, but I'm thinking that this is just going to be like run the ball, short passes, dink and dunk, like you said. They still have tight ends, and New England, if they come at you with a double tight end set and Newton in the backfield, he can just keep throwing at you all day. Really, is in a sense, or run at you all day. It's like their choice. Pick your poison. They could just bury you with size.
Well, true. I just think Seattle's too strong and Seattle's too much of a clique or a unit. Where New England is still trying to feel right now, exactly. New England's still trying to figure things out. Let alone, don't forget about Greg Olsen.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Remember we were saying about tight ends before, and I mentioned Olsen earlier in stats.
Yeah. You saw Gesicki do what he did last week.
He's got a lot of options.
I know. This is why this is easily Seattle.
Yeah, easily Seattle. I say, yeah. Give me the Seahawks. I know, like Belichick. I'm thinking, we always know he takes away your strength, right? So
exactly.
What are you going to take away from Seattle?
That's it. You can't take Russell away. You can't take Russell's running away. So I just think that New England, if this was in Week 17, I would definitely call New England on this one, possibly even winning it. But man, this is just too early in the year. Seattle's already fortified, so give me Seattle all day long. Here's one that's interesting where I'm not exactly sure. New Orleans Saints go to the Las Vegas Raiders. This is an interesting game because it's the Las Vegas' home opener. First time in the stadium. Granted, there is no fans. New Orleans did not look special last week. They looked good. Their defense looked good. They didn't look special. No Michael Thomas.
High ankle sprain.
He's got a high ankle sprain, and high ankle sprain takes weeks to finally feel better from.
Properly, right?
Right. I like the fact that the Raiders battled adversity and came back last week, being down, but again, they were still down. So the fact that New Orleans is favored 6.5 is the only reason I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one.
Absolutely. I'm with you on this one, too. I think Raiders going to do the old ball control. Let's just run the ball at them. And I know New Orleans is going to be ready for that. But, this Raider team is ready to go with fly instead of play action. I saw Ruggs on a 35-yard reception get set up by the play action. All that running.
And Josh Jacobs. In this game is the usual suspects. Drew Brees, I'd like to start. He's a QB1. You definitely start Alvin Kamara as an RB1. I'm going to put Jared Cook as to finish 8th or 7th overall in tight ends. Emmanuel Sanders will definitely be a factor in this game. Yeah, definitely a flex. For the Raiders, Derek Carr is probably going to finish top 12. You're going to have another good game, and this is going to be a big year. And I hate to say it because I didn't get him anywhere, but Josh Jacobs is going to have a very good game and a very good season.
Yeah.
Receiver-wise for Oakland, I mean, Ruggs is there.
Second half.
Ruggs is there. Don't count out Waller because I know that there's Waller's another one. He didn't go off last week or even finish highly, but again, he's a great tight end option. There's so many things that the Raiders can do in this game and go, but again, I think it's going to be a dogfight. I don't think it's going to be too high. Actually, no, this is going to be a high scoring game, to be honest with you. I expect a lot of points. I expect a lot of fantasy. But give me the Raiders and to beat 6.5 points easily.
Yeah, I expect that too. Home game. I mean, maybe you don't have the emotions of the crowd, but it's still your first game. You want to represent. You want to do well.
No, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Okay, Glenn, that's all the games. Let's do a quick.
On.
I don't think I'll ever get used to calling them Raiders.
55.
I'm sorry.
Just call them 55. Just call them 55.
I don't think I'll ever get used to calling them the Raiders.
Yeah, I know. It's just if you got used to the Los Angeles Raiders, my condolences all out years ago. People like that, Los Angeles Raiders, Oakland Raiders. I got used to the Oakland Raiders and became Los Angeles Raiders.
And then you got used to Los Angeles.
Became Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, gee, it's been fun. Let's call it a day. We'll put a nice big happy red bow on our program today. Really appreciate you joining me today, Glenn. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yo, good luck this week in fantasy and good luck this week in betting. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, David. You take care.
All right, buddy. You too. Quick sayonara to all of our listeners out there, and much thanks from myself and Glenn. Really appreciate you listening to us, and we'll be in touch with you next week. Everybody enjoy week 2. Start your fantasy. Be safe out there, and everybody look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining me. I'm David Clutter, the host of Pound the Rock. Have a great day.